Welcome to the Good Rookies podcast. My name is Fahim.
And my name is Nelly J, y'all. And we are Good Rookies.
That's right.
What's going on, everybody? Happy Good Tuesday. And guess what? It's episode 85.
85.
Amazing.
85. Yo, we have an amazing guest. She come back again for the round vibe the last time. So Fahim, please introduce who we got.
Like you just said, she's back again. Episode 29. This is the review. We're going back again. We have someone who's we're definitely for the culture. We definitely know a lot more about her, see what kind of progressions have happened since our last convo. Well, let's welcome Coach Lee Anna Osei to the podcast today.
Coach Lee.
Coach Lee.
Coach Lee. Coach Lee. Coach Lee.
Thank you.
Coach Lee, it's so good seeing you after I feel like a pandemic happened, things have happened, but how are you doing?
My heart is full. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm having fun. And I'm really, for the first time in a long time, I'm really enjoying just every day. Like, and just in a different way. I'm very blessed. But I just, there's something amazing on the horizon, I think, for everybody as we come out of this pandemic, and just so many positive changes have happened the last 2-3 years that everything's just trending up. So I'm very, very grateful to the man upstairs.
Nothing could stop her. She's all the way up. Like not very much right now, but no, I love that. I can sense like spiritually, like you went through and have, it's like you've been through something and like now you're over it, and now like you're in a place of just like love and laughter and joy. So we're going to get into a lot of that for the culture. But breaking news happened today, and I have to bring it up to him. I just have to. Kyrie Irving is his birthday today, and news came out that tomorrow in New York, due to not because of Kyrie, but the Yankees have a lot of unvaccinated players, a lot. So do the Mets. Therefore, they will be lifting the private sector mandates to be vaccinated for professional athletes to play. Therefore, Kyrie can play at home and the Yankees can play at home. I think their starting game is April 9th. So y'all, Kyrie is back 100% full time. Look at Fahim's face. Yes, Fahim, it came out like an hour ago. Coach Lee, what's your thoughts on this?
I love this. Listen, Kyrie should have been playing, in my opinion, and no disrespect to the COVID regulations, but I mean, he is just, he's an entertainer. He's his own man. He's a spiritualist, and he deserves to be on the court. And to your point, I think if it was up to just, is it a Kyrie thing, it wouldn't be happening, So I'm really happy for him. I think as a basketball community, we need that talent on the floor as much as he wants to continue to spread love and joy through his game. So I'm ecstatic. Thank you for sharing that news.
No problem. Fahim didn't know either. Fahim, you look like you ran through I don't know, man, a wall. What's your thoughts on this? Breaking news.
Wow, I feel like I got a ton of questions. So if baseball was still locked out, were they did they literally do this just because no, like you're saying it, but
Fahim,
I believe
so
that.
Yeah, Fahim. So in New York, the Yankees are like the Maple Leafs of Toronto, right?
That I understand.
So when they released how many players on the Yankees that aren't vaccinated, therefore starting their season, they couldn't play due to the private sector mandates. So it's funny because on Twitter Spaces, a few New Yorkers did say this, a few of them, and a few people that I know from New York, they were all saying, listen, the fact that the Yankees have so many unvaccinated players, that's what Kyrie needed, right? And I was like, really? They're like, watch in a week. And legit, a whole week after the Yankees released who's not vaccinated, my gosh, New York City has changed its tune, right? So it just shows, unfortunately, Kyrie had to be patient, but the Yankees saved the day for people who are unvaccinated that are athletes. So this is pretty much for athletes because, before, even in a private sector, you can attend games being unvaccinated, but now it's extended to athletes now. So the Yankees and the Mets both have players that aren't vaccinated, and Kyrie. So now all those players and Kyrie can now officially play, and they say they're going to be announcing this on Thursday, so tomorrow. Yeah.
Wow. You did mention the word patience in there, and that one hit me because see how there was reports that James Harden had wanted out of Brooklyn because of Kyrie not being able to play in Toronto. I don't know how true it is, but that's something that circled around. Perhaps Harden would have been better just to be patient and stay, because now Kyrie is going to be playing in the playoffs in New York. So that's something. Wow.
I think give you guys an update when I think he's been averaging like 27-6, like while like I think in the games he's played, 27 he's averaging 27 points. So imagine him being full time. Scary hours.
It's crazy we even have to talk like that, you know, about NBA players, right? Like part-time, full-time,
part-time player.
What state you going to again? Like it's unbelievable that we've gotten to that point.
True.
Well,
True.
the Yankees run New York. I didn't know it was this. I know how much the Yankees had so much pull until today. I'm like, okay, yep. I guess what New Yorkers were telling me were factual. The Yankees, they like their baseball team, and their team is stacked this year. So they ain't trying to not lose games because players can't play.
Wow.
So
we'll keep our eye on that for sure.
Yeah.
That's going to be developing as time goes on for sure. So the WNBA though, they raised a record-breaking $75 million in capital investments into the league. Like I said, record-breaking. There's been a gradual increase into the WNBA and just women's sports period. But at 75 million, this is the top of top. So, Coach Lee, what's your thoughts on that?
It's about time. It's about time. We need to keep supporting and watching and seeing women win. I love that the announcement came kind of on the eve or in celebration of year 25 for the WNBA, but it's been a long time coming, right? Like the WNBA is often compared to leagues that have been around for like 100 years, like it's 25 years old, right? So there requires a strategy, you know, forward of how the league is going to generate revenue, of how we're going to create pathways for development and for segueing out of, you know, careers for athletes and for coaches. Like there's so much potential there. And I think we've seen that even in terms of the feeder systems, like the NCAAs and so forth. Like you look at them NILs, there's if I'm not mistaken, just before the end of 2021, there were more females making more money through NIL than men were, right? So like the WNBA is a platform that I think everyone would agree. We want to see that turn into a legitimate domestic league that goes year round, you know, so we don't end up with a Brittany Griner type of situation, you know, but we need to pay our women. We need to create pathways for more officials, more coaches, and more space on those WNBA rosters.
I agree.
Just for context, before you get in, Nelly J, I just want to mention that the investors are new to the league. So the current NBA players, NBA owners also, and it has a list of some that very interesting. I've seen Nike, which is a given. Condoleezza Rice apparently is involved in this also. So you have some. I wasn't expecting that.
Aaron Davis.
Sorry. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. It's just. It's interesting. It's interesting, and it's nice to see when you pool, you know, not just money but celebrity together, what it could do for the league. So you got it, Nelly J. What you got?
No, I mean the math is there, right? If you're gonna forecast WNBA in 10 years, the value of these athletes, the trending of these athletes, the trending of their sport, we're seeing more and more now. Like you mentioned, NIL, but on top of that, viewership has gone up. Shoes have gone up, deals have gone up, sponsorships, endorsements, even when it comes to just social media engagement. Every year, the most popular athletes in the NCAA aren't the men, it's the women, right? The women basketball players are more popular, more followers, more engagement. It's moving up towards, right? And guess who spends the most money out of everyone in the world? Women, right? Women, we buy more things. So it's going to trend up. It's best to invest now, right? Because now it's a bit cheaper. But in 10, 15 years, all that investment they're going to do now is going to double, even triple, even 10 times more. So if I'm an investor and I had money, I would definitely buy a team right now, because all it can go is trend up. It's all it can do, because now we're seeing more women making decisions. The big, lawsuit that the women's soccer team, national team for USA won. Like, this is just all trending towards a better future for women athletes. So I'm really happy as a woman. Back in my day, I wish, I've even had this. When I was playing basketball, I was like, I'm not gonna lie. I remember the choice. I could have pursued basketball. And I was like, you know what? Like, how much did I get paid? 35K? I was like, nah. I remember that. I'm like, 35K to play basketball. That's it? I was like, oh, Western University, here I come. I'm not going to pursue basketball, right? And imagine how many kids now in high school, girls who can pursue basketball as a career, and like Coach Lee Anna said, can actually make money, pay their bills, feed their children. You know what I'm saying? It's now a career. And on top of that, if you play, you could still make money in other areas, right? It was endorsements, social media sponsors, you name it now. So I'm just loving this trend, and I'm here for it. I'm here all for it.
Yeah. To your point too, I think a couple things. I wanna shout out the WNBA, but y'all gotta fix your app, because every year I get the app and some of them games are blacked out. And I think it happens with the NBA app too, if it's like streaming somewhere, but for us Canadians, we need that access. So it's too many times I get the app, which by the way is super affordable. It's amazing because you can play back the games throughout the whole year, but we need to fix up. Number two, we need a WNBA team. To your point, Nelly, like we need a squad. So absolutely. I know people are talking, people may be working behind the scenes. And lastly, I just wanted to shout out Canada Basketball and Sportsnet, because there is a women's under 23 event. It was just announced, I feel like yesterday afternoon. There's an under 23 event that's going to be broadcasted on Sportsnet. And it's going to be incredible from the little stuff that I'm hearing. So shout out CB, shout out Sportsnet. You know what I mean? We need more allies.
Yep. Well, actually, to your point, I think those games are being blacked out because Sportsnet signed a contract with the WNBA. So all the games that are showing on Sportsnet TV, you can't actually watch it on your app. That's why they're blacked out.
Okay. But has that been the case for the last 3 years? No.
So actually Sportsnet just signed the deal with them for this past season. Yeah. So last year was the first time they ever signed a deal with the WNBA, which is great, right? That because Sportsnet, they hired Kia Nurse to work as an anchor there, right? So that kind of
Was it Sportsnet or was it TSN? I think it might have been TSN. No,
I think it's Sportsnet. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Well, because Kia Nurse is working for Sportsnet.
Oh, she for some. Okay.
Yeah.
But TSN, you're right, Fahim. TSN does a lot for Canadian sports. Like they streamed they'll stream what's the word? Wait, is it them or CBC? Anyways, I think a lot of our sport media outlets are doing a better job of getting Canadian content out, because CBC started streaming like CEBL League and USports championships and all those sorts of things. So
okay, Nelly J, okay, you got it. Go ahead. If you got it, just let me know.
Got what? Sorry.
Oh, I thought I wasn't sure if you're looking if it was Sportsnet or if it was TSN, but you're sure it's TSN.
So I could look it up.
Okay, while you're doing that, I have a quick, since we're talking about blackout, I have a quick one for you, Coach Lee. And you follow the NBA. I don't, right? But I do know that coaches, for instance, like the NBA, the NBA is majority Black male, but the coaches are minority. The Black coaches are a minority. You know what I'm saying? We know this already, right?
Yeah.
As I looked into it, the same thing seems to be happening with the WNBA, where you have the WNBA, you have coaches, but if the coaches, if they are a woman, they're not Black women. It seems like Black women make up the majority of the on-court product, but Black women are not translating to sidelines in the same fashion. If I'm off, just let me know, but that's something I've observed as an outsider looking in.
No, you're not off. And as a historian, and as an informal historian, I like to call myself, these are trends that we've been seeing since the beginning of high performance sport, right? Like this is what the original Black Coaches Association wanted to fight for, in the States, and because it was that same issue that we were having. And so like anything else, it's there, it's real, and there are a lot of barriers there, but I really like to look at things as an opportunity to create pathways, but we need to be willing to call it out, right? And I think there's more than enough WNBA players, being that they're in the majority Black identifying women, like, you know, I believe that they're starting to talk about that. You know, last year, 2020, they signed that big collective bargaining agreement, right? And like amazing things on the horizon in terms of, you know, compensation, player experience, player development, sponsorship, all those sorts of things. Not to say it's perfect, but it's something that I've certainly identified as someone who does follow both the NBA and the WNBA. But it's something that we need to be willing to call out and then strategize about how do we start fixing this so that we're not 100 years down the road and we don't have people standing on the sidelines and being broadcasters and all those other sorts of things.
In those roles. And actually, so I looked it up for him. It's actually Sportsnet, TSN, and NBA TV Canada, all of them signed with WNBA. So I guess a collective broadcasting agreement. So essentially, they're all showing games. So I'm assuming they probably shared because something to show every game. So probably show some games like the Raptors, right? Because some nights it'll be on Sportsnet, some nights it's on TSN, and some nights it's on NBA TV Canada. So,
100%.
Yeah.
And sometimes games are on Twitter. I noticed that too. Like some of the WNBA games.
I know like Dallas has sometimes some games on there. I've seen some Dallas on Twitter. Yeah, they stream it. But that's the thing about the WNBA is that, you know, this is going to provide better software, better, you know, just technology around the game, like cameras, photographer, like all the things that you're like, oh, but those things have to be upped up because the NBA has a top tier type quality type product that they show. The WNBA, I can tell through their visuals, like their games. When I'm watching, I'm like, yo, the camera looks kind of dusty. Like it's like that event. No, for real though. Like the quality, the product is not the same like level in terms of like the visual like of it. You know what I'm saying? So this is gonna help them show more 4K games, right? All the things that people experience when it comes to NFL and NBA, they can up the quality, up the sound, up everything. So it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great.
It's necessary. That's right.
Coach Lee, one other thing. So since you follow, do you have a specific favorite player in WNBA?
Ooh, that's a tough one because, you know, I'm always rooting for my Canadians. You know what, man, it's hard for me to say I have a specific favorite player, but certainly the player that has most of my respect right now is Sue Bird. I mean, what she's doing at her age at a high level as a PG. I mean, she's the GOAT. She's the GOAT. I love watching Breanna Stewart play. I mean, there's a lot of players that I really like watching. I make it a point to watch games that have our Canadians on them as well. Shout out, I don't know if I'm going to remember everybody's name, but obviously Nat, Bridget are in the league doing their thing. But yeah, you know, like I'm rooting for everybody Canadian, number one, and then I'm just appreciative of how the product is growing. But certainly as a PG, I mean, I got to give it up to Sue Bird for sure.
Well, a good question, because I know last year, well, they haven't listed the final roster of this season because, you know, it is March. So typically they have, I think training camp opens up April because, you know, they try out. Every year they have to try out, y'all. Yes. Every year they got to try out for WNBA teams. So, and I think it was only 10 last year. I'm not sure they're going to have 12, but it's very tight to get into the WNBA. Which is, it's very competitive, right? But the ones that we know that did play based on last season was Kia Nurse, of course, Natalie Achanwa, and what's her name? Bridget Carlton from Minnesota Lynx. So those are the three. So we'll see if we can up it up. I know we had 4 the previous season.
Kayla Alexander.
Yeah. So last season was only 3. So let's see if how many come up in the future. Yeah, it's competitive though. It's very competitive. Like,
of course, like, yeah, because there's only so many jobs out there. You know what I'm saying? So of course, I'm actually surprised though. If you were to ask me, I thought there was a lot more Canadian women in there. I must be getting that confused with the NCAA tournament. There's probably a ton in the NCAA tournament.
Well, this year we've had the most. This year we have 20 in the tournament. but that's
Okay.
20 in the tournament, right? But when it comes
Right.
to WNBA teams, like, remember, there's how many teams? There's 64 teams in the tournament. There's only how many teams in the WNBA, right?
Right. No, I just thought there was more.
It's just
And-
very, yeah, it's very competitive. That's all. It's just really, really competitive. Like,
And we have a bunch of Canadian college athletes playing in the NIT as well, which obviously is not the March Madness tournament, but still an
Yes.
opportunity to play postseason basketball.
agreed.
Shout out my young girls at VCU. We got a trio over there. My young girl Kashana Washington, and like we've got tons of talent across the board. It's crazy. Even teams that didn't make it postseason wise, like a lot of players have made some noise for sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
And like, even like, I forgot her name, but she was ACC Rookie of the Year at Duke.
Cheyenne Day Wilson.
Cheyenne, thank you.
Yes.
She's
and,
really good. Mhm.
Natasha Lattimore is over at Texas, and Letitia Meher, South Carolina. Shayna Pellington's at Arizona. Their season just ended, unfortunately,
Yes,
but like
Shayna,
heck of a career for sure. There's so many. We actually have another kid who did really well as a rookie. Her name is Mackenzie Smith from Nova Scotia. She was like Rookie of the Year, goes to St. Joe's. So like tons of talent. I gotta plug this in here. Saturday, April 16th.
Yes, I was gonna have you plug it in for the culture. So hold off for that. Let's go to the next segment. Yeah, because I want you to plug that. Yeah.
I was like, oh shoot, I should probably talk about
All
this.
right, so that's
we
perfect
got time.
segue.
Yeah, let's
Perfect
go to
segue. So you know what, Nelly J, let's go to For the Culture.
For the culture. We'd like to highlight individuals for the culture, and today we get to highlight Lee Anna Osei, known as Coach Lee. So, Coach Lee, first of all, you're really busy. You're a founder of Canletes Basketball, the Black Canadian Coaches Association. You're also a scout. You played at NCAA, USports. You coached as well. Like, you have so much talent. And right now, you're also a youth coordinator as well. So you're a woman that wears many hats and involved in many things in our community. Always an advocate for women and for athletes and for people of color in Canada. So we were so lucky to highlight you today for the culture. And I want to get into, like you just mentioned about, so drop the plug for that amazing tournament happening in April.
Absolutely. So on Saturday, April 16th at Playground Durham, we are hosting the biggest girls basketball event basically since the pandemic has started. And specifically for the perspective level. So meaning kind of middle school all the way upwards to before kids get to like university. And it's a Canletes All Canadian Games, the CACG. It's in partnership with CEBL, the Canadian Youth Basketball League, as well as Under Armour Canada. And so we're really fortunate to have an opportunity to head the women's side of the Under Armour Canada showcase events. It's 5 games, 100 players, because there's going to be 10 on each team. And it's middle school, like 8th grade, 9th and 10th grade, 11th grade, so your juniors. And then we got 2 senior games. So it's going to be really exciting, really fun. And I'm super pumped up for it. And I'm also on the selection committee for the BIOSTEEL All Canadian Games, which is actually happening next weekend.
Okay.
That'll be held at Athlete Institute. And so 24 young women and 24 young men, of course, will get an opportunity to play on TSN live.
Look at Ting. Watch selection committee here. That's dope. And like, so I have a question. So how do you even get involved in something like this? Like, was it, they recognize you for all the work you're doing at, the past coaching gig? Was it just your Canletes kind of promote, like how'd you get involved? Please walk us through that.
Well, I mean, anything in the women's basketball space, I think a big part of it is just the entity and the brand that we've built with Canletes. And I got to shout out my team. Like, we got a team of dedicated, like, volunteers that just love the game, have played the game, are parents of kids who play the game, and who just have, like, they've poured into this vision of elating Canadian women's basketball at all levels. And so that's been our goal. I founded Canletes in 2012. And, it's come a long way. And, like I tell everybody, like, I can't take credit for the work, because for the last like 3.5 years, I've been super focused on, coaching collegiate basketball. Now, it doesn't mean I'm not involved and have a say, but, I kind of benefit because I'm like unofficially the face, I guess officially the face, but it's really like our team and the passion that goes into giving back. And one of the things I love about our organization is we don't just focus on like the few, right? Like the high performance sport athletes. Like we will do stuff at the high school level, at the club level, at the middle school level, and really try to meet players and organizations where they're at so we can support them. With the pandemic, I mean, teams, like it was even tough to get gym time for games to happen. So like a lot of people think all we do is kind of like training, but it's much more than that. We're hosting events, we're promoting players, we're tracking our athletes at the collegiate level. We're celebrating accomplishments, we're giving out player of the year awards, and we've done it with a little. And I keep saying, we're due for some more formal opportunities to get a sponsorship. Yes. Because if we did all this with a little, imagine what we could do with a lot.
Just imagine. No, I think it's great because being someone who played ball from like when I was 5 or 4, when I was pick up a basketball, all the way to college, and I stopped because, like I said, I was like, where's the money at? Where's the money at? I'm Nigerian, sorry. But I will say that one thing I will say is that being recognized, I could imagine those young girls who practice. I remember I used to wake up at like 5:30 to go to practice every morning before class, right? So imagine like you're dedicating time before school, you're going to camps, after school, all these things, and then you get recognized by like Canletes, highlighting on their social media pages. Like those small things, it may seem small to like people, but to those kids, it means the world, and it really boosts their confidence. It makes them want to play even more basketball, push themselves even further, and to really encourage these young ladies to pursue a career in sports. It's beautiful. So what you're doing is like you're building confidence, you're building self-esteem in a world where a lot of girls aren't being, I guess, promoted for being athletes. So what you're doing is so remarkable. So thank you for all the Canletes staff and volunteers. Y'all are doing it for the culture. So big up to you guys as well, man.
So Coach Lee, I'm wondering, so they have a male BioSteel game. What about the women's game for a big corporate sponsor? Like you're saying, you're doing a lot with a little. I think it's actually a blessing that you are doing it without that big machine behind you, because it really forced you to be creative.
True.
And once you have that creativity behind you, then you can actually prove to them to say, well, here's what we can do. And I think it makes it easier for them to invest. But how does that make you feel knowing that the women's game, it's growing? There's a lot more women in Canadian women in NCAA basketball. Why are we not there yet? Or how far do you think we are off until something like that they start investing in it? Go ahead, Nelly J.
I'm saying? No, there is a BioSteel for women. So she's selecting for both. Yeah, she's selecting for both women and the men.
Thank you.
So yeah.
Okay, so it's both.
It didn't start that. It didn't start that way, but
no,
we're definitely there now.
So actually, this is my question, because I didn't know how long ago, because I've been to the BioSteel game, but mind you, this is before the pandemic. I'd probably say this was maybe 3 years ago. I didn't see a women's game.
That's true, because you went to the men's game, Fim. I remember that.
I went to the men's game, but so how long has the women's game been part of BioSteel?
I think the last 2 years. It has
last
been,
two.
After the first year, yeah. And you know what? Like for this year's event, like it's been a really quick turnaround. Like in the future, there's a lot, we're going to do a lot better promo and, all that kind of stuff. But, if you ask the kids want an opportunity to play. So,
right.
So there's going to be 4 games. There's 2 future games, which will be grade 9s and 10s for girls and guys. And then there'll be 2 of the top 24 kind of marquee games. So I think the games are like 12 and 3 o'clock on Sunday, April 3rd. And I can't be there because for whatever reason, on this one weekend, everything seems to be happening. BioSteel is that weekend. The NCAA Women's Final Four is that weekend. Yes. I actually committed to be out there to work a pro combine and do some other stuff out there. And it's the USports Final 8 National Championship. So shout out USports. You can still play in Canada and have an amazing career, and get your degree. but everything's happened on that one weekend. And I hope this never happens again.
Yeah, that's so odd.
Places at once.
But
Yeah.
also, like, for me, it's like also like the USports and BIOSTEEL. Like, I'm sure we can all coordinate it, but maybe this was the only weekend. But I'm sure they could do a better job next year, because that's too
in the
much.
future, I think. Yeah, in the future,
because there's also
so.
because like there's Canadian athletes in both March Madness and in USports, and you guys, people like you are in a circuit, you've got to be in multiple areas. So I hope they do accommodate folks like yourself in the future. But no, that's great. We actually had Coach Funda on here. He coaches for McMaster. So he really broke down the youth sports network and how that works. And we didn't know that there were scholarships now and different things that kids can get playing sports in Canada, which is like, wow, like they got a lot more than we got. So I'm just happy that Canada and some universities are now picking up the fact that, hey, let's pay these athletes to play here because we want to build a professional league in Canada too, right? So
yes. The biggest thing I would say we're missing is there's money out there to help with the process, but there's just no standard, right? And there's no standard for financial support. There's no standard for academic support. There's no standard, and that's a difficult thing. So you're blessed if you're in a great situation because the athletic department moves like that, and the administration moves like that, and the student experience, and people that you can identify with, but you're screwed if those things aren't there for you because there's no standard. So I personally don't like that. And I'm hoping USports just got a new CEO, actually. Shout out Pierre Arsenault. He's a new CEO of USports. It was announced yesterday, but we need to develop standards, because on the other flip side coin of that, we know that we're dealing with a lot of systemic issues, barriers for women, barriers for people of color, barriers for people with learning disabilities. And because we can talk a lot about the standards we don't have in sport, but more importantly, the experience and the takeaways that they're going to have from the 4 or 5 years, we want to make sure those are positive. We want to make sure those are conducive. So youth sports, we need standards. We need standards across conferences. We need standards, across the board for sure.
That's amazing. And I mean, again, Canletes, we're going to have all the information. And of course, folks can donate to Canletes, right? And the Black Canadian Coach Association. Can folks donate?
Yes.
Okay.
So both not-for-profit organizations, and we need your support. We need your support. We have one full-time staff right now for Canletes, and it's a grind. Shout out Kareem Griffin, my old high school coach. He puts his heart and soul into this. And for BCCA, we're still kind of just plugging away, doing what we can. So any support would be much appreciated for the work that we're doing.
I love it. That's the thing about it, right? It's like we have opportunity to improve sports, help people, especially in the Black community in Canada, to get more involved in sports. But groups like BCCA and Canletes, they need funding to help them push this entire objective, right, to the masses. So honestly, I feel like we're all going to see more and more people of color in sports in the future in Canada. It's going to be a slow burn, but we're going to get there, right? We're going to get there for sure. So let's talk about actually the BCCA, because I think it's a great organization. We joined it last year as well. And, I think if you are a person that loves sport, you involved in sport, you're a parent, join this collective. It's like being a member is free. You can enter it, submit it. And I think it's important because you're not being part of a collective group, but also be notified of what they're up to as well. Do you mind kind of walking the folks listening right now about the BCCA, what their initiatives are, and what's up, I guess, coming up the pipeline for the BCCA?
Absolutely. So the BCCA is a not-for-profit organization that advocates for Black, Indigenous, and people of color in the Canadian sport community, or otherwise advancing racial equity for all groups. We're Black-led, and we're really proud about that fact, but we're all about making sport inclusive for all and understanding that, hey, we're always in a work in progress. We have 3 objectives: celebration, advocacy through allyship, and networking. So everything we do falls into those 3. So whether we're highlighting young people at Canadian and American colleges and universities who are standing up for social justice, or creating a grant at the Canadian Center for Mental Health and Sport, all of those fit into one of our 3 objectives. A few cool things we've been able to accomplish over the last few years is launch Canada's first Black female coach mentorship program across all sports. We just launched a BIPOC football coach mentorship that's inclusive to men and women, non-binary identifying, flag football, tag football, the whole nine. We were invited as one of 5 organizations to present in front of the NHL's Cultural Advancement Initiative, pretty much like a Dragon's Den, with some pretty important NHL people in the community development space. This spring, the Coaching Association of Canada was able to bring us on board, and we helped them create Canada's first anti-racism in sport e-learning module. It's specific to sport coaches, but it is relevant to sport administrators and anybody in a sports space that wants to understand some of the barriers and opportunities working with or coaching people who identify as marginalized.
Coach Lee Anna, like, that is amazing. BCCA is doing a lot. Like, Fahim, what's your, like, first of all, I want to ask you a question. So you started the first Black, like, woman coaching initiative. So why did you start that program, number one? And why do you think it was important for us to have something like that in Toronto, in Canada? Because I'm curious to know about that.
Well, I started it because I realized through my own process as a young coach and trying to navigate the space that we weren't really represented. And so like, I like to think I'm I am optimistic, but I'm also about like proposing solutions. Like one of the things I live by is like, you don't know unless you try. And so to me, when I look at our sports system, let's say predating 2 years ago and even where we need to go, I know that things need to change. And I think I found a lot of confidence in helping others envision a future where we're trying different things, and because we know how we've been doing it doesn't work. And so, you know, personally, I never had a Black female coach coach me for a year, you know, or for a full season. And, you know, now I have the opportunity to do that and be that representation. And so what better way to kind of spread that than create something formal, create something tangible, create something that can be replicated. And it's been incredible because that sort of, like the Black Female Coach Mentorship Program, or the BFCMP, shout out Coaching Association of Canada, our partners. If it wasn't for that, I don't know if we would have been able to create those pathways for the other sports. Like we've got 8 specific kind of sport related groups with the BCCA. And I remember almost every single first Zoom call we had with our members, we were taking experts in like volleyball, and people who are Black identifying that have been the first and the only. And they're sitting in a Zoom saying, oh my goodness, I didn't realize there was another person that looks like me across the country. And we saw that in hockey, we saw that in volleyball, we saw that in soccer, we saw it. And, you know, in basketball, obviously we were having different conversations because we have a lot of representation at the youth, club, and recreational level, but maybe not in actual high performance sport across the board. So I think it was an amazing way to start and normalize like celebrating, acknowledging, and creating a platform where people of color, and especially Black identifying people, can actually connect to one another and support one another and meet each other where they're at. And, you know, mentorship has a lot of value. We've all been mentors and mentees in some capacity. But again, I really wanted to take a formal and academic approach, as well as a social piece of how we can combat systemic anti-Black racism and other forms of discrimination. And, you know, we have an anti-racism experts group. That's the term we use, but it's really a bunch of academics, like university professors, master's students, PhD, like anybody who's in the academic space, teachers at school boards. And, you know, one of the things we also want to do is contribute to the historiography. So that means we want to actually use the BCCA to create history about Black peoples in sport, and about our lived experiences. Because when I'm gone, my story's gone. Maybe it's referenced in a Netflix special, maybe not, but there's nothing tangible that keeps it here.
Netflix special, it's coming.
Right. Our next generations can't study. And, you know, we know that research informs institutions. So from a government standpoint, from a university standpoint, from a cultural standpoint, if we don't create something tangible, you know, we're going to be in trouble, because we're going to leave with our stories. And I'm positive that many people have come and gone without their stories being heard. And so if we can bring that academic piece into combating racism and discrimination, then the sky's the limit.
No, I love that. And that's something that, I was talking to somebody who works in the NBA, and they were talking about how, for some reason, a lot of, kids, people of color who play sports don't ever pursue a career in the sport if they can't make it to the highest level, right? So it's like you play in NCAA, you don't make it to the WNBA. So typically you either just drop the entire sport and you just go to a different career path altogether. But a lot of them don't see that they can actually build a future within the sport, impact the sport, and improve the look of it, because they weren't mentored at a younger age to say, hey, if you don't make it into WNBA, guess what? You can still coach, you can be an analyst, you can work, you can train, you can develop players. There's so much opportunity around the sport. But for some reason, our young kings and queens aren't learning that yes, you don't make it, but you can still be involved in the sport that you love, right? And that's why we see a lot of people not looking like us, working in the NBA, working in these front offices, but they haven't dribbled a ball in their life, right? And I feel like, what you're doing with that is great because, saying, hey, these young queens who are playing basketball or kings, I get it. Like, you know what? If you don't make it to the NBA, have a plan B, learn these other attributes, because guess what? You can coach the sport. You can still be involved in the sport and not only play it. I think for a long time we thought if we don't play it, then we're out. No, we can, if we don't play it, we can still have our hands in it. So I think that's amazing.
And we also need to build that capacity, because so many people, it's hard for them to say goodbye, but it's even more difficult when you don't have that person next to you or that resource that's available online to say, here's how you actually run your own business. Here's how you start it. Like I tell you through Canletes, it's like, we've been learning as we go. And a lot of that is just because generationally and socially, we're not in those groups. We don't know how to grant right. There's so much that we're missing. So the capacity building is important, because there's so many potential sport business owners and longtime sport business owners who've just had to figure it out, right? And I think especially for our Black community, we have high participation in specific sports. In other sports, we don't have a lot of participation as athletes. It's even harder to realize ourselves in other positions. But we have, maybe 3 Black hockey scouts across Canada. But we need to identify those individuals, groups, and organizations that are doing the work and really talk about, creating something that helps us build capacity for this younger generation that's coming up.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. Well, honestly, Coach Lee Anna, you're doing so much. I'm calling you coach because forever you're a coach. Once you've coached once, that's it. That's your title.
That's that might be my first name.
Coach. Yeah, honestly. No, for sure. No, because I feel like coaching, guys, coaching is hard. If y'all think babysitting or watching your nieces and nephews or being a parent is hard, Lord, coaching is a different, it's like everything combined. Mentorship, parenting, it's like everything, patience, it's so much happening. So once you've coached, you're always a coach. But we're so happy to have you on here. You're doing so much in the background that people don't even really know about. You know what I'm saying? You've been featured on Sportsnet everywhere. You've been all over the place on the media, but we're so humbled to have you on the podcast to really share your story. And we hope that folks listening are encouraged to either join, donate, or get involved. So all we can hope for.
Thank you, Nelly J.
No problem.
There's one quote I wanted to mention. I stole it from Allison McNeil. She's a former national team coach for our senior women's team. She said, in everything you do, as you teach, you learn. As you learn, you teach. And that's what coaching is. And I think that's what makes it so challenging, is because it's always a give and take kind of relationship, but you're always learning and you're always teaching, and it's cyclical.
Yeah, it's so true. Great quote too. Great quote.
Yeah. Definitely. So that's why you're for the culture, Coach Lee.
Right.
You just got it. So let's do this. Let's close out this with that's absurd.
That's absurd for him, bro. What was absurd this week? What was absurd?
Okay, so Coach Lee, you've probably been in a situation where you come out the locker room, and after you warm up, you take off your warm-ups, and everyone goes to half court, and you look at the other team. Have you ever had a situation where both teams had the exact same color on?
I personally have, yes, but that's only because but that's only because when you travel on AAU tournaments and you play 3 or 4 games, you only got that one jersey, you know, like you're trying to figure it out. So I actually have been on that side, but I've never seen it in the league.
That's right. So the Memphis Grizzlies, they had a game against the OKC Thunder, and the game was delayed because both teams, after warming up, met at half court for the opening tip, and both had white jerseys on. Absurd.
Absurd. First of all, I'm sure there's somebody's job. It's somebody's job to coordinate, you know, from Boomerang, coordinate the jerseys, right? You're wearing
somebody
white.
didn't send that text.
That's their job, just to coordinate it. It's coordination. So either somebody in the NBA messed up or the team didn't communicate. But how do you not know you're wearing the same color? I think that's hilarious, dog. Like absurd.
So I saw the clip and I saw that they both see each other with the white jerseys. The referees went to the sideline. I guess they looked at the schedule, and you know, sometimes you have your throwback jersey, your city jerseys, etc. So they had to look literally. There's like 2 refs huddled over, looked like it was a phone, saying like, "Whose night is it tonight?" And then I guess it was Memphis. So the Grizzlies won. They pointed to Memphis, says, "You guys got to go change." Imagine having to go back to your locker room to change your jerseys to come back. Completely absurd.
Absurd. You know what it reminds me of? Like that Spider-Man meme. You know the meme of them pointing at each other?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that. Like, hold up. Who's the white jersey? Who's white tonight? My gosh.
Did you guys also see, is it Justin Bieber? I think he's got a collaboration, but this is for hockey, mind you. But there's a collaboration I think I saw this past week of reversible hockey jerseys.
Yeah, with the Leafs, right?
With the Leafs, yeah. Or I'm not sure it's Leafs or the league, but
honestly, I thought it was designed by a 5-year-old, like for real. Like I cannot believe a grown man. I'm sorry, probably not. I'm sure he did design it, but I wasn't impressed with it. No, Coach, yeah, I'm gonna find it for you. 1 second. I'm gonna find it for you. 1 second. It ain't cute. It ain't cute. Yeah,
Justin Bieber out here, man. He has a listen. Justin Bieber's all over the place. He has little Timbits. You know, he went on tour with Maverick City. I'm loving where he is right now. He's trying to be a little bit everywhere.
Right.
So actually, I'm about to send you this link right now in our chat because again, like Fahim, did you like it?
It was an A for effort. I thought it was very ingenuity. I like the ingenuity of it, you know, like the fact that it's reversible. I've never thought of a reversible hockey jersey like that. So I was like,
that's because they're all smelly. I'm kidding.
Yeah, but also you know,
both sides.
But like you know, Bieber's also like a hooper. Like he played basketball. Like he's upon the scene. So we have reversible jerseys in basketball. So we just put what we have in the basketball culture in the hockey culture, because you know hockey is dying to be cool, right? Like they're dying to be cool. But Coach, look at that jersey. I thought like I wasn't like, oh my gosh, you know, it's just like a smiley face. It's yellow in the leaves. Man, my 8-year-old nephew can draw that. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I would have, you know, I ain't mad at the color scheme. I would have maybe liked to see red and white instead of a red and black. But yeah, I think I would have went, okay, maybe major cities, you do something with the words in the leaf. You know what I mean? Because it's the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they're Canada's team. You know, like there's a couple creative things that, you know, I definitely think could be done to it. I don't know if I'm a fan of the smiley face. I could see a lot of the younger hockey leagues maybe getting something like this.
That's what I'm saying. It's probably for like the younger, like the you know the younger cats, because when I saw it, I'm like, okay, is this for like I thought maybe it was for the kids. Like I know it was for actually the grown men to play in. But hey, Bieber, I'm not hating on you. I figured his design was kind of, you know, kind of lazy, but I wasn't impressed. But hey, you tried, right? You tried. Good job. Good job.
Hey, Bieber stays winning, man. I'm with the Tim Biebs. I've had them.
Listen, he's a winner.
He's winning, man. He's winning. Shout out to
Georgia.
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, Bieber. No, Bieber is cool. But no, y'all, honestly, this to me, what was more absurd? The fact that 2 NBA teams had the same color jerseys, or the Super Bowl player who came out with the wrong, what Super Bowl? The guy, remember the guy like who came
college football player that he had the hat, was the hat, right?
Was it a hat? Like it had the
Yeah,
yeah, for the wrong team.
wrong
What's
team.
worse, Fahim? To your thoughts?
So just so Coach Lee gets caught up, at the NC was it one of the bowl games, they gave the football player a hat and it said champions, but it was champions of the other team.
That lost.
So that loss, yeah, is weird. I've never seen that happen before. So that was definitely a big wardrobe malfunction. Of the two, I'd have to go with I'll go with, yeah, actually, no, I think the football one, you can't make a mistake like that. You can't be on national TV wearing, your other team are the champions. Now, yeah, I'll go with that one. It's not as bad as the Grizzlies and.
How about you, Coach Lee? What's worse, wearing the wrong team hat during a championship photo shot, or like two white jerseys?
I'm gonna have to agree with Fahim. I think it's the hat, and I know it happens. It's young people, but like, nah, it can't be one of those. Like, you're not gonna live that down. At least with the wardrobe malfunction for the NBA game, it was kind of like everybody. Like, like somebody didn't do their job, together. But we all kind of look silly because we've been here for 4 hours on the court. So,
man. Honestly, like, I really hope like one day SNL idea, do a skit behind the scenes of these mishaps. I think it'd be funny to kind of do the behind the scenes of like, how does this happen? Who messed up? Just kind of a skit idea for SNL.
Well, definitely what wardrobe malfunction is going to be on Shaq and the Fool, 100%. 100%. All right, Coach Lee, let's put this episode in the books. Nelly J.
Episode 85.
85.
So, Coach Lee Anna, you know how we do here. We love to give our guests a chance to do a special shout out. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'd like to shout out all my peoples, my Canletes family, my BCCA family, my workplace. Shout out the BGC, Jaden Finch Club, Stand Up, West End. You know how we do it. And man, just God is love. And like, I know everybody's going through different seasons right now, but just know there's always something better on the horizon. So I'm very thankful to you too, Fahim and Nelly, for inviting me for my second time on the Good Rookies podcast. And I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you too, girl. Honestly, thank you. Shout out to BCCA, Canletes, Coach Lee, her team, everyone that's in her village. Keep whatever y'all doing, keep doing it, because my girl is glowing, okay? And she is winning on all accounts. So shout out to the BioSteel as well for the ladies and for the men that she'll be selecting. I also want to shout out all the Canadian women athletes. Like, I don't know about y'all, but Canadian women, we just be winning in sports. Soccer, hockey, like whatever the sport is, we're all the top 2, top 5 gold. Like, we're just killing it on the global scale. So well, shout out to all my women, all the ladies that are playing sports out there, that are mothers, sisters, everything. They're doing so much for their family and have time to like be experts, right, in their field, whether it's coaching, on the field, you name it. So big up to all the ladies in sports, man, especially as we celebrate, Women's Month, right? International Women's Month. But honestly, this month, Women's History Month, Women's Month, International Month, all women, big up to you. Big up to you.
Definitely. I'm going to piggyback that. It's also great to see, Coach Lee Anna, where, there's definitely a push in the women's movement in basketball, 100%. I did mention it earlier, but I really do mean this. I find that many of these opportunities are for non-BIPOC women who seem to be getting into these opportunities. And I think it's great that since we're on this really first push, this first wave of it, that you are one of the faces that, young, not Black women, but young women are say, hey, you know what, there's a Black woman that's actually doing this and leading the charge. So I just want to salute you for that. You're doing great work. And, you're writing your history in every moment, every day. You know what I'm saying?
Hello.
So definitely.
She's a walking history book, y'all.
Definitely.
A walking history book.
Definitely. So we appreciate you. We appreciate you coming through the podcast. And, you always have a place here. We have to definitely, as things go on, you keep building and adding and leveling up, right? So I'm excited to see, in the future, what's happened now and what you have coming up going forward also. So yeah, let's put this episode in the books.
Y'all, that was episode 85. Coach Lee Anna was in the building. We're going to have all her contact, links, information. You can stalk her. Go ahead, y'all. Don't be creepy. Don't be creepy. You can stalk her online, support, donate, do all the things.
Hit that follow button.
Yes.
You're looking for some training, looking for some basketball drills. Follow my story.
Follow her stories, man. Listen, my girl is always in the gym doing the things, right? So please, please, if you like the episode, subscribe, do it all. Fahim.
That's right. We're on all platforms if you're looking for us. That's Good Rookies Podcast, episode 85. And we out.
Peace.